This book is about an important part of our afterlife. We have the last years, many good studies about people who had a glimpse of the afterlife, and that is people who had near-death experiences. When a person is clinically dead and can be reanimated, which is possible in many cases these days, a portion of those patients had some glimpse of the afterlife, and that's the well-known phenomenon of the light being seen after a travel through a dark tunnel. And this light is described as very attractive and heavenly, as a matter of fact. And during that travel, or in that light, a person may have a complete view of his earthly life from the point of view of, we might say, morality. He questions himself, viewing all episodes in his life. How did I live? Did I give or did I take? So how much did I love? And it seems that these things are most important at that moment. But the person comes back. He is not dead, it is near death. But we have also good evidence on a state of the soul, that is of many souls in the afterlife, which traditionally is called purgatory, a place or a state of being purified. And the evidence is twofold. First, many stories, well documented and well examined, well checked stories of apparitions of souls from this abode, purgatory, and what they have to tell and what they have to ask us. These stories are not very frequent, but now and then something like that does occur indeed. And the second line of evidence is traces left by these apparitions from purgatory. Traces like a burnt-in hand or burnt-in fingers, in a piece of tissue, in a chemise, in a prayer book, in a piece of wood, in a door sometimes. In Rome there is a very interesting collection of these kind of objects in the so-called Museum of Purgatory, and this collection in the center of Rome shows us something which at first glance is a bit frightening. Because if you see a burnt-in hand of a ghost, of a soul, the logical reaction is shuddering. If we go, however, a bit further and we research the connected stories of the apparition of those souls, they tell us they indeed suffer. They burn. How that is possible is another subject. They burn. And this burning is a burning of love. This flame, they are inflamed with love for God, whose presence they have perceived right after death. And that is this light seen by persons who had a near-death experience. And in this flame of love, they say every rust of sin, of egoism, of selfishness has to be burned out completely, and it is a very severe suffering. And in that suffering, the suffering can be relieved and significantly shortened by the prayers of people here on earth for them. So when such a soul appears, it's in the first place asking for help, that is asking for our love. Many souls are forgotten. A person dies and a number of months later nobody really thinks about that person anymore, but it may be that his soul is suffering and needs our help. So it's a thirsty soul, thirsty for our love. These apparitions of souls must not be confused with all manifestations experienced during, for example, channeling sessions or sessions of spiritualist people, mediums, and all this whole field, because real apparitions of souls from purgatory are very more serious and also very more beautiful, and they tell a quite different story in comparison with the so-called souls which would manifest themselves during those sessions. As a matter of fact, souls cannot be conjured up by us. So what is happening in spiritualist sessions, and there's much proof for that, is if it's really something significant, it is of quite a different nature. These are not the souls of deceased persons, but of deceiving evil spirits. They really exist, and some people let themselves be deceived by them, and they pay a high price for this. It's quite a different kind of phenomena. But psychologically, what the poor souls have to tell us and to ask us is of a quite different order. So they ask for our help, and they tell us that the ego, the me, the person I am now, is not destroyed after death, but survives exactly as now. We know when we have died that we are I. And the most basic instincts in the human soul we have now in this earthly life, and these are instincts for happiness, an instinct for moral purity, and an instinct for love, for being loved and love. Those instincts are the most basic ones of our soul, and these souls are lived by those instincts only, because all other things lost their value. All material things we are attached to have no value at all anymore, of course. So they tell us a lot about ourselves, in fact, too. And the implicit lesson they give us is try to be as good as you can be during this life. Be a loving person and not a selfish person, because there is a price to selfishness. They also tell us that some people, the minority, may go directly to heaven if they have really lived extraordinarily well, and perhaps suffered a great deal in this life in a very positive way, given everything they had and not taken in this life. They also teach us that hopefully a minority, and hopefully a small minority of people, do never come in the heavenly state after purgatory, but go to hell, that there exists a hell. So there is much in this, and as a psychologist I decided to compile the best kind of evidence. And so in this book we have triple A stories of appearing souls, apparitions of many ages ago, but also apparitions of souls of the 20th century. A number of them which are very moving, and we can learn a great deal out of these stories, and there's a lot of information to ponder over, to meditate on. So I hope this book may help getting a more realistic view of what is coming after this life.